I have here the newest printer from Bambu Labs, and it looks like it could be their best printer ever. But it's definitely not for everyone. This is the H2D Pro, and there's a very specific group that's gonna be very excited about this printer, but I think a lot of people will also just pass on it. And I'll get to that in a bit, but let's just get right to the unboxing. So on top here, it does have some instructions on how to open it. You're not gonna cut it like you normally would. There's some clips on the side. You're gonna undo the clips, and then we're gonna lift the whole top of the box off. All right, now I should be able to just lift the whole top off now. And there we go. And then we can start pulling away some of the packaging here. On top, we do have the instructions. I'm gonna make sure to read these first because sometimes it has useful unboxing advice in there. So remove the top foam there. Put this box to the side for now. That's just the accessory box. And now at this point, you're gonna wanna get someone else to help you. This is a two-person job. You're gonna lift it right out of the box and onto your table. So let's open up this accessory box here. So this is the Bambu Vision encoder. It's actually not a build plate. It's used to calibrate the printer. We have the extra spool holder that goes on the side. Looks like we have some extra PTFE tubes, and here are some desiccant packs in there too. And then we have our toolbox here. Now that has an extra hot end. We have our Allen keys, which we'll need to open up the rest of this printer, and then just some basic maintenance stuff. And then all this tape on top holding the top cover on, you're just gonna remove that. Now I'm gonna remove some of this foam packaging in order to get to the AMS2 Pro in here. All right, first I'm gonna pull out this box here. Not sure what is in this box. Looks like another accessory box. All right, so we have our power adapter here, some power cords, multiple cords actually, and then those are our cables for our AMS unit. And here it looks like an emergency stop button. Now this is more unique to the H2D Pro. The regular H2D does not have this. This is kind of what makes it more of the engineering type printer. And then on top here, I can see the AMS HT. I'm just gonna lift that out now. Now this is the HT is for high temperature. This is a high temperature filament dryer for your printer. Now this has been available before for your H2D as a separate add-on, but now you can get it included with the H2D Pro, which also has the AMS2 inside, which I'll get to next. So now, in order to get the AMS2 out, we have to remove 4 screws up top here. There's one here, here, and then 2 on the other side. And then now we can remove these 2 brackets. And then there's 4 screws down here, 2 out front, and then 2 down to the side. So with the first 2 screws removed, we can now lift the AMS out, which will help us get to the other screws. Now remove the 4 screws holding down the heat bed. They're all marked in red. So now I'm just gonna remove these zip ties and the rest of the cardboard around here. So the emergency stop button just clips underneath the printer. You just have to lift it and drop it on top of it. And then it plugs into the back here into this little port. So now we can install the glass top just on top. And this will just go on top with the handle facing forward. All right, so you may have noticed there are a few different power cords. I just want to quickly explain what goes where. So the AMS HT has its own power supply here with this cable. Then this is the cable that connects it to the printer. And then the AMS2 Pro has a power adapter here with a power cable, and then that cable is to connect it to the printer, and then one for the printer itself. So now I'm going to put the AMS on top, and I'm gonna put the HT just right next to it. And now we're gonna plug them all in. And inside the AMS, there is a piece of foam here we're gonna remove, and then these desiccant packs in the back. We're gonna remove it, we're gonna remove them from their packaging, then we're gonna put them back in the slot in the back. And then in the AMS HT, we're just gonna lift this off, and then there's another desiccant pack here in the back. We're just gonna do the same thing, we're gonna open it and put it back in there. So to connect the AMS, we're gonna go with the connector here. Then we're gonna connect that to the AMS HT, and then another cable from the back of the AMS2, and then that is gonna connect to the printer. So now this is gonna connect to the AMS2 Pro in the back there. Then we have another power cable for the AMS HT right there. And then finally, to power the printer, we have one more at the bottom here. Now to connect the PTFE tubes, we're just gonna slide that into the back there, push it down in. Now the AMS2 is gonna go to the left extruder, that's the lower one, And this one, you push it pretty far in, farther than you might think, until it's snug. And then we're gonna do the same thing for the AMS HT. That is gonna go to the top one, which is the right extruder, and we're also gonna slide that deep in there. Then finally, the external spool holder just clips on like this. So first up, of course, I printed a benchy, but I actually printed 2 benchies. So what I did here is I printed one right away, just without setting anything up, just the normal calibration. And here's the benchy I got. And then I went and used this board that I mentioned earlier. This is the Bambu Vision Encoder. So what this is used for is an extra set of calibrations to give you even more accuracy. So my first benchy, of course, came out looking great. This is Bambu Lab after all, and it's a very good print. There's no issues here. And then let's compare it to the one that was printed after I used the Vision Encoder. And to be honest, it looks very similar. And that is not all that surprising. This is meant to enhance accuracy. And I think what will happen is over time, when your printer wears a bit, bands will stretch, things will wear out a little bit, but using this regularly will help keep it accurate a year from now, 2 years from now, even 3 years from now, and you will have the same results as you got the first time you started printing. So that is the main benefit of the Vision Encoder, just to keep that consistency over a longer period of time. And next up, I printed another benchy. Now, I wanted to print in something that's a little more challenging, so I printed this in polycarbonate with carbon fiber in it. Since it has that tungsten carbide nozzle, it should be very good at printing this. And it did a really good job as well. Obviously, there's not gonna be a lot of wear to those nozzles because they're very hard. And the print itself turned out really nice. It looks just like the PLA print, which is saying a lot. PLA always prints really nice. So to have this turn out this nice is really good. So I printed this next. It is a backpack hanger made out of the same material. It does look a little different just because I think the surfaces are a little different. This is a very flat surface where this is a lot more rounded edges, but it is the same material actually, polycarbonate plus carbon fiber, and it printed very well. It is really strong. I tested it with my backpack with a whole bunch of weight in it, and it held up very well. The layer adhesion seems very good too. No issues here at all. This is a really good, consistent printer. Very good at printing this more challenging material. And I wanted to continue the trend of printing abrasive materials. So next up, I printed a PETG with glass fiber in it, which is also quite abrasive. And again, it did a really good job with that. I assume these nozzles are gonna last a long time, even printing materials like this. And the print turned out great. There's a really nice consistent look throughout this print. I had actually used the HT dryer for this before. I left it in there for a good 8 hours, and I think it did a really good job. I printed this before, and I noticed, at least with this PETG glass fiber, if it is a little bit moist, it does really show. So the dryer itself actually did a great job of drying this fully, and then the print turned out excellent because of that. And this was printed at a very high infill. This is 70% infill with about, I think it was 4 or 5 walls. So it was a very solid part as well, and it had no issues with that at all. And of course, this printer has the dual nozzle tool head, so I had to show that off a bit. Now, we did a full video on the H2D before, where I showed a lot of multicolored prints, so I'm not doing that as much this time. I was mainly showing off the things that this printer does that the other one couldn't. But of course, I had to do a bit of the multi-material stuff here. So right here I have a print that was made out of ABS, and I used HIPS as support. Now ABS tends to have a smell to it. One of the things about this printer, it has improved filtration, and I think it actually did work. I did notice on the H2D, when I printed before, there was a bit of a smell of ABS. It wasn't terrible, but you could notice it for sure. On this one, I really didn't notice it at all. My setup is I have this printer in a somewhat large office space and a normal just room air filter going on, and I really didn't smell it at all, which is great because ABS can really irritate your nose, give you headaches, so it's essential to have good filtration. And the part itself looks great. The ABS printed flawlessly. ABS tends to warp, so this heated chamber did a really good job of keeping it from warping. And I was gonna try to remove it from the build plate without taking off the supports, but these supports came off so easily. Just trying to get it off, they came off. So it is great to be able to use a different material as support. That way you're getting a perfect surface underneath. And then my final test print here that I'm showing off, it's another benchy, but this is not a normal benchy. This is made out of this stuff here, which is Ultim 9085 or PEI. And this stuff is very difficult to print. Even on a printer like this, we're really pushing it to its limits. The recommended temperature is 350 to 380 on the nozzle. This one goes up to 350. and the bed temp is 140 to 160, and this one only goes to 120. So we were right at the bottom end of this, and it actually seemed like it managed to print it. And for the build chamber, you want it as hot as possible. This one only goes up to 65, which is pretty impressive for a printer like this, but still below what you want for Ultem. And it did a surprisingly good job of printing this. I tried printing Ultem a while ago on the H2D, and it also did a pretty good job, but then I had some layer separation. While on this printer, even though it has all the same specs, maybe it was just a fluke, it did print a little bit better. It didn't separate at all, and it feels stronger. I don't think I can pull this apart like I was able to do with the previous H2D. And that was just a bit of an experiment. It's definitely not recommended you print Ultem on this printer, but it's kind of fun to do things like this once in a while. So far I mentioned the Vision encoder, I mentioned the HT dryer, I mentioned the improved filtration and the tungsten carbide nozzles, but there's another feature on this printer I haven't talked about yet, is the Ethernet port. Now that might not seem like a major upgrade to most people, but it actually is a huge feature because this is more of a business printer. A lot of businesses require their printer to be offline and not have access to the internet. Whereas with this Ethernet port, you can have a local network where you're transferring your files only within your own system and it never goes online. And that's required when you're doing things like prototyping and you don't want to share these files with anyone else. Or you have clients who want confidentiality and not have their files accessible by Bambu Labs or whoever else. And that's what I meant when I said this is definitely not for everyone. This is geared more towards businesses. And I think for businesses, this is a great value. If you've been in the commercial space at all, you know just how expensive some of these commercial printers can get. And this Bambu Lab H2D Pro is a great value. Having those two nozzles, able to use multiple materials, having the HT dryer, all for that price is very good. So for the average 3D printing enthusiast, would I recommend this printer? Possibly. I really do think the H2D covers most of what you need in a printer, but if you want that extra network security, this could be a great option. Now, as for businesses, this is definitely the great one to go with. You get everything that was in the H2D, but with all the features you need to keep your business safe and secure. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.